Hi, I'm Rod Yancey. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm the founder of Oath Music and Bootleg.live. The mission of Oath Music is to help musicians to reach their full potential. I did a short stint at the RIAA, which is the Recording Industry Association of America. And this is back whenever Napster had been shut down, but there was a new technology at the time called peer-to-peer technology. And essentially, it distributed software across thousands of computers so that no one person was doing anything. It was a shared function of all these computers everywhere. So there were two main services, one called Kazaa and one called LimeWire. And what these peer-to-peer services were doing it was allowing people to share MP3 files and video files as well. And so I went to work at the RIAA to try to shut down the peer-to-peer services, which was it was a little tricky because I was a college kid at the time, or I was in law school, and it was most of my friends who were using the peer-to-peer services, and I was maybe guilty as well. Nonetheless, I got a front row seat at seeing the music industry really change. It was clear that CD sales, so CDs, compact discs, were the main revenue generators for music at the time. And CD sales just got decimated. Labels and musicians lost 80% of their collected revenue over the course of 5 or 6 or 7 years. And it was a good thing that legal downloading came about. So Apple released the iPod and also released iTunes. And then after a while we had Spotify, and Spotify introduced a subscription-based service. And again, Spotify is a good thing. And now Apple Music, also subscription-based service, and Amazon and the other music players, they're doing great. They're doing what they can for the industry, but it's just never really replaced all the revenue that used to be generated. And the byproduct of that is that it's really difficult for a young artist who isn't just an overnight sensation on YouTube, because there are a couple of those who through YouTube or social media just get really popular and they soar, and that's great. But even that contributes somewhat to the problem, because 99% of all the streaming revenue is collected by 1% of the artists, 1% of the musicians. It's really difficult for musicians to monetize their craft. So what Oath Music is searching to do is it's seeking to create products and create new monetization methods so that musicians can keep making music and can continue to collect revenue so that they can have a sustainable livelihood through their creativity. Bootleg is Oath Music's flagship product. I'm a music lover. I've never been a player. I played bass guitar for a couple of years, but definitely not with any kind of acumen. But I'm a huge music lover. I think I've used music throughout my life to inspire me. I took my two sons to their first concert. We saw Beck and we saw Phoenix. And we drove over into Rogers, Arkansas, and it was an amazing show. Thomas Mars, who's the lead singer of Phoenix, was running through the aisle, I should say, running through the aisle. And one of my sons gave him a high five, and the other one kind of got a hold of his leg and gave him a little hug. So it was a magical night. At the end of the night, we go over to the merch table, and they had this great big, merch area, and there was just nothing for me to buy. They didn't have any kids' t-shirts, didn't sell CDs. I wouldn't have had a way to play the CD anyway. They didn't sell tapes. I was frustrated, and I said, what somebody should do is they should take a high quality recording of the show, the audio that I just heard, and allow me to purchase it and then stream it from a player right next to Spotify. And I thought to myself, I would pay for that. I know people would pay for that. And I started thinking through the technology, and I was like, the soundboards today can easily record that and it could be pushed up to a server. My development team and I have been working recently a program that we used in our business-to-business software that was capturing audio and pushing it up. So some of this came from that, just understanding how it was possible. And then I thought through it, from an attorney standpoint, from a copyright law standpoint. I was like, well, somebody has to have already done this. I just put it out of my head, but the idea just wouldn't, I couldn't let go of it. So I dug in, I did a little Google researching, and I was just so surprised that there were a couple of companies that had tried, but there was no market leader. And I go to a lot of concerts, and I had never seen any of the companies who were doing this at any concerts I'd ever been to. I did a pilot concert with an artist and got recordings, and we started playing with the technology and started building out the software. And now we have a fully functional app and software service called Bootleg, where musicians can market and sell the live recording right at the concert. And we take high quality, high fidelity recordings, push them up to the server, and within a couple of hours, fans can support their musicians, purchase the concert, and also memorialize the night. There are also some incredible features. Fans are able to post photos or videos to be included in the bootleg. So they're part of the liner notes, if you think about it, in terms of like a CD or an album. And so for the night, the photos and the videos get curated into the liner notes of the bootleg. And so the bootleg is not just the audio, which in and of itself is great, because on the way to work or at the gym or while you're mowing the yard, you can be listening to your favorite concert. But it's also the photos and the videos and the backstage looks and the pictures of the set list, the handwritten lyrics, those type of things that are all combined and create a magical memento of the night. Bootleg is incredible for musicians and fans because it gives musicians a way to monetize and fans a way to memorialize their concerts. It's also a way for fans to directly support artists. And then Bootleg is great for labels. The economics of record labels have changed dramatically over the years. Labels are still searching for ways to help artists, searching for ways to participate in revenue from live events, and this gives the label a great way to do just that. Building a company like Bootleg from Oklahoma represents a challenge. I mean, it may make more sense to have it come out of New York or LA or Nashville or even Austin. The thing I love about it coming out of Oklahoma, well, for one, Oklahoma has amazing music, and it always has. We've had amazing musicians from really every type of genre, and not just not small musicians, but certainly in country music, some of the largest musicians ever. Tulsa's creating this hub of singer-songwriters. So we have the Woody Guthrie archives, we have the Bob Dylan archives. Additionally, I think the Oklahoma spirit, the spirit of pioneering, the spirit of staking a claim, the spirit of really diving into different cultures and integrating different cultures and different genres. It's occurred here in Oklahoma, and it's the perfect place to create a company like Bootleg. Music has always been influenced by technology. I mean, all the way back to the player piano. There was a piano boom. This is fascinating for an entrepreneur. If you dive into the piano boom, I think it was like in the 1800s, there were hundreds, if not thousands, of piano factories. Well, the technology had evolved and they could mass produce them. And you can imagine, like, if there wasn't radio at the time, there wasn't iPods, there wasn't anything. So hearing music was a real thrill, and it was the type of thing that a family would splurge for. It created a whole industry of piano teachers and also traveling pianists. Because if you were to have a dinner party, you would oftentimes bring in a pianist to come and play. A musician could get paid to play the piano. Well, of course, it didn't take long for technology to replace the human. And so the player piano was invented. And then you could buy a piano that could play songs without having to pay a musician. and it changed the music industry dramatically. Similarly, technology has changed the music industry time and time again. 4 tracks, tapes, the LPs, vinyls and EPs, etc. All of that has led us to where we are today, which is AI. AI is going to dramatically change the music industry. It already has. It's going to be possible for a person to create 1,000 songs each and every day. There are already 90,000 songs uploaded onto the streaming sites each week. And if you have all of this, AI generated music, it's going to be harder and harder for authentic, human created music to be heard. It's not to say that human created music is doomed. It's not even to say that there's anything wrong with AI helping to create music. AI is just a new technology. Many musicians will use AI to help express themselves and to create more and better music. And so I think there's some great things about AI, but I think it's definitely going to change the industry. It's going to be interesting to see it evolve over time. My experience in the law helps me in the music industry because I think it's so important that the people who create music and the people who own the rights to music get paid for all the work that they've done. I think beginner's eyes, oftentimes on that first impression, without any preconceived notions, without any biases, you can get a clearer look at what the truth is or what the future is going to hold. I believe that our approach to the music industry is with beginner's eyes. I think we come into the music industry with a lot of respect for all the people who've been here before and who have helped artists. Having some fresh eyes is great. But also having fresh eyes without the naivety to think that we know it all, I think is probably most important. Live music is going to be even more important. There's already been this shift. In the past, people used to lose money on tour so that they could sell their tapes or their CDs. That has changed with streaming revenue, at least for the majority of musicians. They don't make enough from streaming to be able to make ends meet. And so touring is necessary. But touring will become even more important for a number of reasons. One being with the proliferation of AI and the proliferation of music that's soon to come, I think fans will want to see authentic performances even more. So there'll be a desire from the fan base to see music performed, because it could be that there's, in the future you won't know whether or not the music was made by a human. I also believe that musicians are going to need to generate even more revenue from live performances, because with the proliferation of streaming sites, for the majority of musicians, and I mean the vast majority, the 99%, there's going to be less and less plays of human-generated music, and so more revenue will need to be derived from live performances. The thing about change is it's always hard. Fans are already recording all the shows. They're recording it on their phone, their voice recorder, or they're taking a video. So that audio is already out there, and I think it's there's fear for some musicians about maybe we shouldn't release this because it's not perfect. But this is already, all this stuff is already being released. This is just a way to increase the quality and to give the fans a better experience, and for the musicians and the rights holders to be properly compensated for the work that they do. I think most of us have a concert. Maybe it's their first concert. Maybe it's just an event that was just incredible for one reason or the other, that they really wish they could listen to the audio of again. For me, there's been really too many concerts to count that I wish I could go back and get. All the way back to the very first concert I purchased my own tickets for, which coincidentally happened to be Beck when I was 16 at Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa. The Beach Boys, I saw the Beach Boys. I would love to hear the audio of that. Would have been 1985. I think I was 6 years old. All the way to a festival where I saw this, tiny electronic musician for the first time, named Don Bronze, who, it just floored me. I had such an incredible night, such an incredible experience. I wanted to recreate it so much that I actually had him come to Tulsa to play a concert. And most of us, don't have the ability or the luxury or the fortitude or whatever it might take to be able to do that. I was able to work with a team and pull that together on one of his tours. And so, I'm grateful that I was able to do that. But hopefully Bootleg can give other people the ability to kind of recreate it just like that. Memorializing a night, what that means is to be able to recreate the emotions that came from a great night out at a show. When you're in the moment of music, it's almost as if everything else stops and you're very present. I mean, you're in the now. And for some people that might be the only time or one of the handful of times in their life where they get that type of presence. It's important to be able to recreate that, because the more and more that you can experience it, the more and more you can find that moment of presence, the more and more you're going to get in touch with who you are. And I think that's the point of Oath Music, and that's how Oath Music and the broader mission of Oath work together.